So I saw one of the questions that we got from the Ermitloo life group.
It's potatoes.
I was going to say, I don't know where
Why?
that came from. I thought it was clear.
Why would you want to eat an onion?
I know. I was like, would anybody else say this? So for everybody watching, we did get a question from the Ermitloo Life Group of what would be better to eat raw, is potatoes or onions? Yes. I thought it was pretty obvious. Yes. I thought potatoes, but you can let us know if you think that's wrong. I'm sure you will. So, yes. But Larry, so you spoke. We're still in our quiet mode series. Mm-hmm. And this week we talked about struggling with God. Mm-hmm. And with this story, I don't know why, but I never put two and two together that they were really, all these instances was a family of not trusting
That's right.
God.
That's right.
I don't know why I never put that together. So I thought that was really interesting. Will you do just a quick recap of your message?
Well, the series is on prayer. And obviously different aspects of prayer and people who prayed and how they approached it. And a lot of it is depending on your culture. And here our character that we're looking at this Sunday was Jacob, who really his whole life was one of struggle. From his birth all the way till he had the wrestling match with this divine being was all a struggle. And that is the same thing that he carried over into his prayer life. And the struggle was, can I really trust that God's going to answer my prayer or not? Mm-hmm. Can I really trust that he's going to be there for me? Obviously, as we saw on Sunday, looking at the scripture, is he had a hard problem doing that. Mm-hmm. That he really had a hard time trusting that God is going to do what he said he's going to do. Because obviously, as we read again, time and time again, God spoke to him. Mm-hmm. And said, in fact, he says before he has the wrestling match, I know you said this, but are you really going to be there for me? That's really what it was. And so I think there's a lot of people that can identify with Jacob. Yeah. Because of their own life experiences, maybe their culture that they were raised in. Mm-hmm. They didn't have a family situation that really spent much time trusting God. Mm-hmm. Maybe there was a surface faith and they went to church, but as far as really trusting in God for your sustenance or with your future, they didn't do that. And so I think a lot of us can identify with somebody like Jacob. I know me, I could. Again, that really have struggled with God in the past, and to really say, can he be trusted? Is he a good God that's going to listen to me? So. Yeah,
and so we do have a question about Jacob's prayer. You mentioned the wrestling. Yeah. And so he says, I will not let you go until you bless me. Mm-hmm. So it seems like a bargain or something. So I guess and the second half of the question too is what's our role in demanding blessings from God that? So if you want to speak.
I think it's persistence in our prayer. Remember the story that Jesus told earlier, not earlier than Jacob, but in his ministry, it said it's the guy that keeps pounding on the door.
Oh, yep.
He keeps pounding on the door, and finally, and he uses earthly, the house owner gets exasperated. For heaven's sake, okay, what do you want? Yeah. And he goes, but that persistence is what really, really carries over. There's another aspect. I'm going to be with the men's meeting coming up first Saturday in November. We're going to be talking about fasting. The disciples come back to Jesus because they tried to cast out a demon out of a little boy. And Jesus says, that kind of thing only happens with prayer and fasting. So it's carries with the idea that the sincerity of your prayers, that you're all in on wanting this result, that your heart is resolved, that this is what you want to have. It's not like a prayer you throw off. I mentioned that earlier, or like a wishful thinking, that your prayer in earnestness. And that's the idea that I'm not going to let you go until you bless me. God, I'm going to keep praying this prayer. I'm going to pray this prayer every day. And it goes, I'm guilty. Even something I care about, I'll pray for a month, and then I pray about something else. Well, that prayer wasn't answered in how I felt it should. Yeah. So if it's really that important, why why am I not continuing to pray that prayer? I think that's the point.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way of kind of looking at it. And two, what we do so many times is we're just looking at the words for like face value, or we're reading it in a certain way that it's kind of like, we did this a little bit ago with the woman. Oh gosh, now they're going to make fun of me because I can't remember this. But when she was praying in the church, and it was Eli saying you know, and we all kind of are like, oh, this is kind of weird. And even Eli thought, this is kind of weird.
That's right.
But it's like, you don't know where somebody's heart's at in that moment. So it is it's hard to see and hard to look past and everything. But something else I liked that you said is in that wrestling moment. Because like you hear this story, and maybe like me, I like have heard it before.
Sure.
And then like I don't think much of it. But I like how, because like the angel, obviously knowing who they're dealing with, is like, what's your name? And the way that you said it, you were like, kind of like, who do you think you are?
That's right.
And also like from him saying like, you know, I'm a heel grabber. That's it. You know, that was really interesting. And in the fact of like afterwards, it's like, I have so much more for you.
That's right.
You know, like I thought that was such a cool way of seeing it that I've never seen that before. So I really did like that. We do have another question here. So is there a practical balance between faith and responsibility?
And which is a great question, and probably either Trent or Jake sent that question in because
I was going to ask them.
Because coming in the month of November, we're going to be preaching through the book of James.
Oh, okay.
And the theme is faith without works is dead. So we're going to be answering that question every Sunday for a month. So whoever asked that question, stay tuned. That's a great segue because we're going to be talking about that. And and yes, there is a balance. Obviously, you're not saved through works, but your faith is made evidence through the fruit, right? And what kind of fruit are you producing? Right. Jesus even had a parable about if the fruit's not there, the tree's going to be cut down, type of thing. So we don't believe, and we don't think the Bible teaches that your work saves you. There are some corners of what they call Christendom that really emphasize that kind of thing. No, we're saved through the shed blood of Jesus Christ. It's a finished work. But the evidence of our faith is in what we do and how we live. So, yes, there's a balance between faith and responsibility.
There's balance, and we're going to talk about it for a month.
That's
so
right.
What a good question.
The book of James coming up.
Yes. And so now we have some questions. They kind of go together, and it's more about Abraham. So I'm going to ask, we'll just go do this first one. And that didn't Abraham have faith when he was going to sacrifice Isaac? So we didn't talk about this story yet, but if you want to, yes, he did. And if you want to tie it back in with what we were talking about.
Yeah. I think part of that is, I think they're part of the question, again, is that I seem to have a very low opinion of Abraham. And no, I think he's a real flesh and blood person. What I love about the Bible stories is they show these, like David. I mean, they show these Bible characters with all their flaws, all their imperfections, things that are very troubling, that even the greatest heroes, Moses, Abraham, that are still venerated with many people, but they're all flaws. And what the story tells me is that if you look at those individuals, by the end of their lives, after they've worked through all of their struggles with God and struggles with themselves, they end up being the kind of person God wants them to be.
Yep.
And Isaac, yes, when he came toward the end of his life, when he was tested by God, he believed that God was able to raise him even from the dead. That's what the Bible says, that he was willing to sacrifice Isaac because he believed in the promise that from him all these generations will be blessed, so that for God to continue on his promise, he would raise Isaac from the dead. But here's the way I look at that. All the times that Abraham failed to live up to what God wanted him to do, God didn't quit on him. That's the story to me. God will never quit on you. He still believes in you. He still is there for you till the time you draw your last breath. He believes in you. He chose you for something. You are here, no matter who it is. You are here for a reason, and God believes that you can fulfill that purpose. He will not quit on you. He believes in you all the way. No matter how many times you failed him, you've turned your back on him, you've disavowed him maybe even, he has not quit on you. He didn't quit on Abraham. Now, if I were God, and this is how you're treating your wife, you know, I've come to you in chapter 12, and I make this incredible promise that I've never made anybody else, and 7 verses later,
Right.
you're doing this. If I were, I would say that's a flaw of mine. I give people maybe 1 or 2 chances, and then I'm going, okay,
I tried.
was that, once bitten, So but God, his patience is unlimited in that regard, and he will always open the door, always open the door. Remember the story with Jonah and Nineveh? Nineveh was an enemy of Israel, and yet he did everything he could to save Nineveh.
Yep.
And so what that story is, it's about God's love for us, his patience, his belief in us, not Abraham, not Jacob. It's God's story. And so, yes, Abraham is a hero in chapter 11.
Yeah.
Okay, he's a great, and he should be.
Yep.
Right? But he was a man in process, just like Jacob was a man in process. We all are people in process.
Yep.
And so that's the whole point of that is I don't have a low opinion of Abraham.
Yeah.
He's a man like me.
Yep.
That's not a low opinion. It's just like that's who we are as people.
Yeah.
But here, it's not that I have a low opinion of Abraham. I have such a high opinion of God.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's the point.
And so the 2 questions that were kind of tied together was both talking about like more the high parts of Abraham's life, because then the next one was about Hebrews 11 and thinking so highly of Abraham. So why do we have this contradiction of, and to me, like you said, every Bible character or this Bible hero maybe that we have seen and grown up learning about, when you're a little kid, you only learn about the good stuff. Right. And then once you get older and read the Bible for yourself, you're like, oh my gosh. And it's the same when we went through the David series. Right. We're not, dogging David, but I mean, he was making some pretty big mistakes. Stuff. Yeah. And so, and like you said, like Moses, Aaron, literally everybody has had a point where maybe even they started good and then it kind of went downhill. Right. And so there's literally the only perfect Bible character there is Jesus. Yeah. So at the end of the day, we can find something wrong with all of them. And we were really digging into Abraham on Sunday, right? But only because, look what he was doing. That's
pretty bad.
Yeah, right. We're not just going to skip over that. No. In fact, I think that's why some people have a hard time with. Maybe have a hard time with like church and some Bible stories is because they think maybe they only grew up going to church learning the fun parts. Right. And then they get older and they're like, this church thing isn't for me because everybody thinks they're so perfect.
That's exactly right.
And that's exactly what we are trying to point like, no. Every single person in the Bible had a problem, and it's not pointing to them, it's pointing back to God.
Yeah. I mean, look at Peter. What did he do?
Exactly.
And he's now the first pope, supposedly. But it's like, no, we're all. But here's what it does for me too. It shows me one more bit of evidence that the Bible is true. Because if I were writing a book, I'd write it full of the heroes and not and say, geez, leave them alone with that. Okay, we all make mistakes. Yeah. And so, but emphasize all the real positive things. And so, like you're reading a biography.
Yep.
But no, to me, it shows the Bible is real.
Oh, yeah.
It's a true story because it shows heroes just as they are.
Yeah.
Right? But that again, the point is, God doesn't quit on you. Mm-hmm. So don't quit on yourself. God believes in you. And then don't quit on other people. Mm-hmm. Because God's not done with them yet.
Right.
And you can see where Abraham came and then where he ultimately arrived at was a tremendous man. Jacob became a man at peace in his life. The last part of his life, he was at peace. Mm-hmm. And so all these characters is the fulfillment of that story is God doesn't quit. He is patient with you, and that we have an opportunity. And these men became heroes because they did become what God wanted them to be.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And well, so kind of going off of that, where you talked in I think the very beginning, mostly about like how God's love is not from earning it. Like,
right.
It's not anything we can earn.
Right.
Why do you think that's so hard for us to like process and like internalize?
Because that's all we experience on planet Earth.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I really think, I know, I know just because I have to believe it that my dad loved me. He would say that maybe 5 times his whole life. But my mom, I knew.
Yeah.
All right, she was all of the things she did for us, and everything else she did, and the things she would say, and the hugs, and the pride she would take in us, and so forth. But I do believe that if I would have done certain things, I could have lost my mother's love. I think I could have hurt them so bad that maybe not lost it, but lessened it.
Yeah.
There'd still be that love, but that there are things that we can do. I mean, my wife and I have been together like 53, 54 years, all right? Even now, I think there's things I could do that would really damage our relationship. And her feelings, her love for me. There is nothing we can do that will lessen God's love for us. But the reason why it's hard for us is because everything we experience here, it's almost like earned love.
Yeah.
And so it's hard for us to just shift gears to think. In fact, C.S. Lewis called the love that we experience on planet Earth as the second love. The first love is the love God has for us, and to accept that. But we spend so much of our life experience second love.
Yeah.
So anyway, I think that's why it's hard.
Yeah. And too, it's funny because, even I like how you mentioned Peter, because even Peter, I love thinking about him and all the disciples, really, the fact that they were walking with Jesus and still they weren't really getting it.
No, they weren't.
And
I love The Chosen, watching that.
Yeah.
Because
Yep.
they're human guys. They're
Yes.
just guys.
Yes.
Trying to get it.
Fighting, arguing. Yeah. Like he's, it's so funny because reading the Bible and like having Jesus like pretty plainly tell them things sometimes, and still they're like, no, that won't happen. It's like, did you forget who you're talking to?
I know.
Like, of course it's going to happen.
Right.
Like he's just trying to tell you and warn you and prepare you.
Yeah.
And so again, just, it is hard because on earth we only have such only really an idea of what that can be like, because when we're with other people and other relationships, that's not really the same. But just to not give up on people, I'm glad you said that too, because when we did our, it was like the battleground state or that whole thing. And it wasn't about fighting other people, and it wasn't about like arguing with the other person, but it was recognizing that you're not fighting the person, you're fighting the enemy. And so just as we thought then about how the enemy is, kind of putting things in people's minds, everybody's minds, also God's working on them too. And he's also not done with that story. And so it really goes hand in hand when you're trying to think about like, it's kind of the same grace that you'd want from other people. You got to give that to others because they're doing, struggling the same as us humans, man.
I guess the one other thing that I wanted to try to, and I think I did communicate, is our family culture. That is not something we're doomed to live out. Yeah. That we have the power to choose and overcome that. Yeah. That we're not locked into a way of thinking about the world, and to be, if we had a dad who was just really skeptical or just felt life wasn't worth living, and that somehow it communicates. Now, I know that we are partly creatures of DNA. Yeah. And that how the DNA works out in our parents' lives, a lot of times it works out in our lives. But we are not prisoners of that DNA. We can overcome those things. And even if it's that kind of thing, let alone just a mental kind of state or a spiritual disposition, we can overcome that. Jacob, it took him all his life to get over that because that's how he was raised. Yeah. He was named that to begin with. Yep. But he was able to overcome and finally realize in the end, it's like, my struggles with God, because God put me in this family. You know, God had me born the way I was, and but I understand that God has a higher vision for me than just that.
Yeah, I'm glad you were talking about that too, and I do think you communicated that well, because not often are we looking at these thinking of like, because now people call them like generational curses,
Yes,
or
right. Exactly
you know,
right. Very good.
and so I think that was great that you brought that up, because I wouldn't have again put that together in this kind of story where you read it and you do see him making the same mistakes, but you don't put it in terms of what does that look like now, like why, how is this applicable now?
Yeah, right.
And so I think that is good. It is good for people to remember that not only is God not going to give up on you and he's still working through you, but then there is, we are making choices.
Right.
Like you have to make the choice to kind of break out of that and to, you know, move on. I think everybody who has siblings connected with you when you were talking about your brother. I know I did. I was like, wow, this sounds really familiar.
Yeah,
we're really all the same.
We are the same. That's exactly right.
We are all the same, but and it's funny because a lot of that, you know, is joking around. You still love your siblings. Some people unfortunately don't have that, you know, with their families and their siblings. But you know, it's fun to joke around, and
we love being together now. We just
do. I was gonna say, are you guys still close? And you still
really close. We just went last Sunday with my brother Jim, the one that always beat me. That's the one I'm not as close to my twin as I am to him.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And we went to a Bengals game last week together down Cincinnati. So the Lions played the Bengals. So and just had a great time.
That's great.
Just a great time.
Do they ever watch any of your sermons? Do they know you're talking about them?
Well, I say every once.
Watching.
Well, it's so funny because brothers are brothers.
Oh yeah.
Because my brother Jim would say it was good, but this part over here, that's the brother. You know.
Yep.
Or I'll send them something that I've written.
Okay.
And they go, you know, I understand what you're trying to say, but I would have worded that differently. That's brothers.
Oh, that is.
So I know I'm not going to get the attaboys from my brothers.
No.
That's just the way it
do
is.
you ask them before you tell family stories, or do you just do it?
Well, no, my brother Jerry, I do, because there's sometimes Jerry, I think I've mentioned before on a podcast where just crazy how it is.
Yeah.
I was disrespectful at home, but I was my nickname in high school was Jesus.
Oh, okay.
Jerry was very respectful at home, but he was not Jesus.
Rowdy, yeah, later.
In fact, we were at a 50th high school reunion, and I had two buddies that said he hung around when he mentioned the guy's name. He goes, "We didn't think Jerry's going to live through high school."
Oh, yeah.
I mean, so it's just, here we are, twins, but just so different. And then my brother John always wanted to be a preacher. My brother Jim, he was always looking for a fight and always off the rails. And then I was trying to be, and then Jerry was off the rails. Then Bobby, we call him Saint Bob. So he was like never got touched. And
all boys.
All
boys.
Yeah, see, all boys. So.
Oh goodness.
Yeah. So anyway, yeah.
It's funny because I know, like, I'm like, my sisters are not gonna watch this, so I can I'm gonna say whatever I want. My mom might watch it and tell them, but no. Well, thanks, Larry. Thanks for talking. Everybody really appreciates when you come and speak. So
I appreciate it. So.
Yeah.
Well, very good.
Yeah.
Look
Thanks. Thank you, and thank you everybody for watching. Like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we'll see you next week.
Bye-bye.